Thank you very much to the organizers for inviting me to address this panel. The photovoltaic sector is definitely one of the most dynamic in the world. However, despite the impressive growth, I am aware that all is not rosy. The crisis, as well as policy shifts in terms of support schemes in certain member states, have posed challenges to the sector in recent times. This said, I'm very confident on behalf of the sector because photovoltaic energy has the market fundamentals on its side. Why? Well, in March this year, the Commission published its 2050 low-carbon roadmap. It shows that achieving the necessary CO2 reductions requires moving towards a full decarbonization of electricity production by the middle of this century. Photovoltaics will have to and be able to make an important contribution to achieve this. Together with wind, PV has the enormous advantage of being fuel-free. This will become a critical advantage in a future marked by increasing resource scarcity and the world population expected to reach 9 billion people when my children will have reached my age. The PV industry has grown to become an important industry sector in Europe. However, in recent years, rapid growth in PV production capacity was observed mainly in China and in Taiwan, which now account together, these two countries, account for more than 50% of worldwide PV production. It is crucial to ensure that we also in Europe continue to enjoy the growth and jobs benefits connected to PV. Attractive market conditions are, of course, important to achieve this. Europe cannot compete on all parameters, but one very important thing we can do is to create certainty about the regional demand for the products in the foreseeable future. To this end, the EU's climate and energy package introduced ambitious and binding national targets for the share of renewable energy sources by 2020, and the member states' action plans spell out how these targets will be achieved. These plans show that member states expect PV capacity to more than triple by 2020. But for this to happen, member states need to ensure that a regulatory framework is in place that attracts the necessary private investments in order to achieve these targets. National support schemes need to be financially viable and protected from retroactive changes. This is a crucial point. At the same time, overcompensation should of course be avoided, and a continuous predictable incentive for cost reductions needs to be built in. Only like that we will avoid volatile boom and bust cycles where gold rush and crisis replace one another to the detriment of a truly sustainable development of the industry. Cuts in costs need to be further stimulated by research, development and deployment of innovative technologies. Several EU measures provide support in this area, not least the EU so-called NER 300 program, which co-funds demonstration at commercial scale. Under this program, 300 million emission allowances from the EU emissions trading system will provide around 5 billion euros for low-carbon technologies, including innovative PV. The positive reaction to the first call is encouraging. Almost 80 proposals were submitted by the closing deadline of 9th of May this year, 4 of which were on innovative PV technologies. But maybe it's also time to look beyond 2020. To investors, 2020 is just around the corner. As we start to discuss a CO2 target for 2030, we must also discuss the pros and cons of related policies such as renewable targets for 2030, given how closely climate and energy issues are interlinked. This continent still has a lot to offer in terms of research environments, industrial clusters, and, not the least, skilled people. Having the collective ambition of turning Europe into the most climate-friendly region of the world will ensure that we, as Europeans, challenge ourselves enough to preserve and develop these qualities and skills. And by doing that, we can also preserve the markets for us to take. Thank you for your attention, and I wish you a very good debate.